What kind of genres do you usually book for your concerts?
For our events, it's all over the board. I like to say that the genre that we work with is Wisconsin. So as long as there's some sort of Wisconsin connection, that's what's important. But we worked with anything from classical to R&B to rock, alternative, jazz.
Welcome to the Wisconsin Music Podcast. Here to introduce you to the great musicians and music businesses and organizations of Wisconsin. Every week, Wisconsin Music Podcast will be bringing you great information on what's happening in the Wisconsin music world. For our music-loving listeners, we'll bring you music that you haven't even heard of yet from unique and talented artists and hear about their journey so far. You'll either hear live performances of their songs or songs from their selected discography. For our musicians out there wondering what they can do to further their recognition, we'll be calling upon Wisconsin music businesses and organizations to enlighten you on what they're doing to help further your music journey. And now, here's your host, Zach Fell.
Thanks, Dean. Hey, everyone. Zach here from Wisconsin Music Podcast. So glad you could join me today. As I'm recording this little segment before I put it together with the podcast, I'm sitting here listening to the rain and noticing, as everyone else is, the leaves are starting to fall and change their colors. Such a wonderful landscape we have here in Wisconsin. And hopefully our pandemic starts to swing the other way as our numbers, unfortunately, are rising. I'm looking forward to this passing and us able to go out and hear our amazing local musicians and patronize our great Wisconsin music businesses and organizations. I have some very exciting news for you guys. We now have a website. It is www.wisconsinmusicpodcast.com, where you can listen to the podcast right there on the website. If you are interested in being a guest on the Wisconsin Music Podcast, there is a simple form in the upper right-hand corner. Fill out that form, submit it. You'll get an auto email telling you what the next steps are, and hopefully we can connect and get you on the show. Besides having the podcast delivered to you every Monday, we will also have a blog post posted regularly on the website. So make sure you check that out. The website is www.wisconsinmusicpodcast.com. So stay safe, stay healthy, and here is our interview with Allison Emm. This week we have Allison Emm from Wisconsin Music Ventures. And Wisconsin Music Ventures is a program that was founded in the summer of 2019. Her idea was to plan events that might be different, engaging, and exciting for her private students and others to attend, being held at interesting, when possible, outdoor locations. But I'm going to let Allison talk more about this because she is the founder and creator of this. So, Allison, welcome to the Wisconsin Music Podcast.
Thank you so much, Zach. Thanks for having me on here.
I appreciate you being here.
Yeah, good to be here. Wisconsin Music Ventures is just over a year old, and it's been quite the year. And so, just when you think you have a concept down for a business and a program, live music series, all of a sudden you have to change course a little bit, but so it goes, I guess, and just forces creatives to get a little bit more creative, so to speak.
So what's your background?
My background is in performing on a classical instrument, on French horn and piano as well, and teaching private music and teaching in school as well. But when I started this, I was kind of in a tough place. I'd gone through a lot of medical issues that were sort of abdominal area related. And as a French horn player, especially when you're trying to pursue that at a higher level, it makes it difficult to really do so. It was getting very unpredictable for me as to how I could pursue that instrument at the level that I wanted to. It also made some of my part-time school teaching work very difficult to maintain as well, being in and out for hospital visits and things like that. So I had to figure out a different way to do music, to put on events. I still had a large private studio of students and wanted to do something that could kind of be fun for them, be accessible for them, and then also sort of incorporate other friends and music along the way. And that's really kind of how this started. I wanted to put on events that would be different, live music at a smaller scale level and sort of pop-up style performances that would just be fun and just really easy to get to, free for most of them when possible, because they're supported by like a patron system, corporate and individual patrons who support through monthly contributions and then get sort of returns on that through special access to patron-only events, special musician meetups, or live music for their own events and things like that through the Patron Rewards program. So the musicians are always paid for their performances through Wisconsin Music Ventures and paid appropriately. And so that's always been important. But the performances remain accessible then for people who attend, usually free.
So walk us through the step-by-step process of getting a musician involved in the Wisconsin Music Ventures. Do they contact you or do you reach out to them or both? And then what are the steps from that position to them giving a concert?
We have an application on our website for musicians. And if I really don't know you, that's a great way to go. So that'll go directly to my email inbox. You can also just reach out to me, Allison, Allison, at wisconsinmusicventures.com. I mean, essentially, we're looking for, a bio, website, and recordings. I do try and hear musicians before we program them, whenever possible. It's a little less possible these days to do so, but I do like to hear them live as opposed to just recorded before an event, because a live version of music is very different than recorded version. And I like to just see, how musicians work with the audience before programming them, things like that. And I also just like to just talk with the musicians and make sure they're a good fit personality-wise for the series. Because it's, generally, family-friendly kind of style music, but also, I mean, other events are, there do end up being some, bar gig kind of things too. But I just want to make sure that I have a good feel for the personality of the musicians before I program them for different venues. So those are sort of the steps.
What kind of genres do you usually book for your concerts?
For our events, it's all over the board. I like to say that the genre that we work with is Wisconsin. So as long as there's some sort of Wisconsin connection, that's what's important. But we've worked with anything from classical to R&B to rock alternative to jazz. We have an Irish duo playing a live performance. It's been all over the board, and it's fun that way, and it helps, and a lot of original musicians as well. And that's been a really big part of what we do too, is trying to introduce people to music that they might not realize that they like in doing this series. We have a lot of the programming that is sometimes cover music, but then we mix in the originals, and that kind of, we have people's attention in doing so by doing the cover music, but then by popping in some original artists here and there, that really exposes people to that music that they might not have realized that they liked. And it's really been fun to get some newer artists out that way.
Excellent. And then once you have been contacted by an artist and you've listened to them and decided that they'd be a great fit for your events, what would be the next step?
Yeah, then we just try and find a good place for them to perform at. And there's all sorts of different events that we put on, whether it's for our own sort of series events, which are generally, when possible, when it's not a pandemic year, is sort of pop-up style events. Because of the scenario right now, we're kind of at the helm of, at the whim of whoever is willing to put on events with us right now. So we have a few local partners that are still willing to do events, even indoors, given the current circumstances at 25% capacity. And that's great. And so we love them, and we'll continue to do events with them and any others who are willing to do so. And then there are patron events, the events that some of the patrons get as a reward for what they have paid into. So we've sent musicians out for business Christmas parties, corporate Christmas parties, I should say, anything from that to, a block party for one of the patrons, things like that. And then occasionally we'll get asked by other bigger places to do some events for, recently we had musicians at the Corners in Brookfield. So then we just have to make sure that we find musicians who are the right fit for that. Sometimes a partner like that might have particular specifications for what they're looking for. So then we kind of also have to work with them on style and genre. But usually they're pretty flexible, and they know from knowing us and knowing what we like to work with, they're coming to us because they like our our style of working with a variety of people and keeping it local.
Speaking of patrons, how do you get your patrons to know about you?
I go to a lot of events to talk about the program, and we're, at every concert event, we're talking about it in our social media. We, designate a day every week to talk about the patron program. In our e-news, we do it. We now have a part-time staff member, Ben, who his whole job is to work with patrons and make sure that they are getting noticed, especially if they're business patrons, that they're getting the word is getting out about their business being associated with us through being a patron of the week or a patron of the featured patron for a particular concert, that they are getting noticed for their partnership with us. I go to a lot of business networking events as well to try and meet people who might be really appreciative of what we're doing, who might like to see live music used more in their own business events. I'm always trying to go and meet more and more people who might like to see local music being used for their purposes. And that's a great way for me to find a patron. And also just, anyone who has an appreciation for local music and maybe especially original music, because we do put a little bit of an emphasis on that. There are individual patrons who aren't necessarily looking for name recognition, but they just want to support what we're doing because they appreciate the mission, and then they get, invites to the special events that we do as well. So always trying to get the word out in those different ways. And if you think of anything else, let me know. If you think of any other good ways.
I think what you're doing right now seems like a really good way to get basically networking with the local businesses and searching out new patrons. What would be like some of the patrons that you've enlisted, basically, if you want to name some?
Yeah, some of our patrons are venues themselves. So Stacy Estrada, for instance, she had a place called Uptown Art, which is sort of an art lounge and painting shop where you could go in and do some painting and drink some wine. And so, and they would have live music there occasionally. So actually with the pandemic, she had to close down her shop because it was a little bit too difficult to keep it up. And then she had to kind of stop being a patron for a little bit. But then she recently opened a smaller place called Art Lounge in Menominee Falls and became a patron as soon as she could again, because she really liked supporting us, and she has a space where she can host live music. We have patrons who are like insurance providers, and they just see the value of partnering with us because we work with a lot of different musicians and a lot of different professionals. And some of those musicians, they have day jobs. So, they might be, a good fit for looking for someone for insurance purposes. And he's, for instance, Michael Martz is one of them who used live music for one of his corporate events. Yeah, those are a couple of the business examples. And then there's individuals. Mike Collins he's become a friend. I didn't really know him at first, but he, as soon as he found out what we were doing, he's like, I want to get in on this because they're really supporting original music. He loves that. That is his jam. And he's like, I want to tell everyone about this and make sure people know that I'm supporting this. So, he's been a great individual supporter. So those are just a few examples, but our full list is on our website.
Excellent. You also have high school students as well that do concerts?
We have done some in-school assembly type things for students, and we have done a couple educational-based events, but occasionally we have some college students, but professional-based. But we do have some educational events now and then, so those would be more focused for the high schoolers and sometimes younger. We had a drum circle event that was early on, and that was really fun out in the middle of a park, and where we all tried different types of, African percussion instruments and passed them around and, just in the middle of a park, and it was 95 degrees out. But it was really fun. And everyone who was there really loved it. So, things like that drew kids of all ages. Yeah, we like to mix it up and just get music out there wherever and however possible.
Exactly. And then you guys have been around for about a year and a half now, right?
Correct.
Even though it's a short amount of time of being around, what are the changes that you have done? The idea of what you thought it was going to be to where it is now?
Yeah, we've seen a lot of growth as far as just getting musicians involved in other parts of the state, which has been really cool. I was not expecting it to, I knew we would attract really good musicians because I knew it was going to be a priority of mine to pay the musicians appropriately, being a high-level musician myself. But Word really spread pretty fast about what we were doing. And so we really become like a musicians first organization and have attracted a lot of high level musicians to work with us from the state. That was something I wouldn't have expected. And so we have a lot of musicians that have worked with us or want to work with us. And that is tough right now to find venues for everyone that we want to work with to be able to support that. Right now, we want to do something with everyone, but we just can't quite, and especially right now. But that was a really fun thing to happen. We had early support from some members of the Milwaukee Symphony Orchestra. Victor De Lorenzo, who was a founding member with Violent Femmes, he has been an early supporter of ours, and now I work with him very closely now. One of his events was canceled with us because of the pandemic, but we hope to get him back and doing that show with us. He's in a new duo now called 1913. He found us and wanted to get involved right away. Places like that, I was really surprised with how excited they were about our concept. And then word kind of spreads when people like that want to get involved. And that's been really exciting for us. So it's just challenging to support it and to find venues right now for everyone.
Have you thought about putting on your own festival or your own like monthly concert series or getting your own side stage at Summerfest? Any of those kind of ideas gone through your head?
Yeah, I would love to. That would be, that's definitely a goal of ours, is to get to that point, to tie in with Summerfest at some point. I mean, that's dreaming big for us. And I have a meeting soon with some folks at Mile of Music in the Fox Valley area, because, we hope to kind of get involved with them. And those types of places, yeah, it would be fantastic because we're all supporting the same thing. We all really want to see Wisconsin music do amazing things. So yeah, that would be, a dream of ours for sure. So hopefully. We do have some tentative plans to maybe do like a weekend, sort of like big jam session sort of thing this summer, just inviting, again, because we have a lot of musician interest, just inviting all the musicians that have expressed interest in working with us to come together and maybe do some workshops, but also just have, one big jam session kind of available to people of, different genres of music to come together and to see what happens. But so that's sort of, in the back of our minds, hoping that can happen this summer, the summer of 2021. But we'll see where that goes.
Now, I know you're also part of some Radio Milwaukee Education Programming Advisory Task Force. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's really a task force that was developed to support the Grace Weber's Music Lab. And because I used to do a lot with school music and continue to do a lot with private lesson teaching, and I've always been a big supporter of 88.9. And once again, anything that supports local music, I'm a big supporter of. That was a great fit for me, and they reached out to me, and I was glad to help with that. That is just a group of people that brainstorms together about ways to get some of their programming accessible to different students from different schools, to make sure that it's exciting programming. But I think they've done a little bit less with COVID, but I know that they're going to try and get back to the planning stages with some of the folks that had some involvement with them. But yeah, Brittany over there, she does a great job organizing that program for them. And we just kind of help support and generate ideas and talk about busing and, all the things that like all the nitty gritty and like, would this work for this school or, from your school music background, what would you think about this? That kind of thing.
What are some things that you'd really like to expand on with your program?
I would love to get back to doing more of the pop-up style events, outdoor events. This summer, when I first started, I did a lot with the Milwaukee County parks and state parks and really did pop-up style events that were sort of in niche places within the parks. Pike Lake State Park was a big favorite of mine. We were supposed to do some things there again this last year. We did events at 9 different Milwaukee County parks in the first year. And it was so much fun. And that just, having the music there, well, some people knew about the events in advance. The musicians themselves just drew people in to the music by being, for instance, out at the beach at Seven Bridges in Grant Park. The saxophone sound from that one, for instance, carried through the haunted bridges area into the woods. And it was just so cool. Contemporary original saxophone music. It was just fantastic. And, I want to go back to doing that, but it was, we just couldn't do that this year because parks weren't allowing for organized group activities and promoting group activities. And so I loved doing that. It was so much fun. So as soon as we can get back to doing that kind of thing, I'd like to. It was great. And the people really responded well to those events.
I think everybody really wants to get back out there and see live music. Live stream concerts are okay. And they were okay, and they were like kind of cool and gimmicky at the beginning, but we see all our venues starting to shut down and they don't know if they're going to come back again. That's very, very sad.
I know, it is scary. So, and we're, whatever we can do to help support the venues. I mean, we're willing to make deals right now. So,
right.
To get live music out there. And, we're doing that with a couple partners, with the Wilson Center for the Arts in Brookfield. And we're all in the same boat right now. We all want to see the live music survive. So, I'm willing to talk with people at all sorts of different places to try and get this out there.
Where do you see this in 5 years, your program?
That's a great question. My main goal, I think, after doing this for the first year, I would love to be able to say that we are really just helping to bring Wisconsin musicians to the forefront to really just amplify the scene here. Maybe help get, systemize some of their tools and their acts. And because something that we have seen as we're doing this more and more, we're able to compare notes on different artists. And we're saying, hey, maybe you could use, if you really worked on this part of your website a little bit more, this might help your business end. You might help you get more gigs. It might, and things like that. Bio writing is something that a lot, so we're seeing a lot of things that we could do. We could suggest to musicians, and we're actually going to start doing a couple workshops where we can offer that. Social media is a big one too. And again, just because we're able to see so many, we do a lot of comparing, and we can't help but to do so.
Right.
But we can offer that advice and expertise, and if that helps musicians to get to the next level in whatever genre they're in, I'm just really grateful to help and support them in that. I would just love to see Wisconsin, it's so crazy to me that we are the home of Summerfest and Mile of Music. And, we don't have so many artists, that are making it so big right now, and we could. So I think there's so much more potential here than we realize. We just need a little bit more support. Yeah.
Right. Wisconsin has talented musicians. I mean, we have a long winter where people aren't really out doing stuff. We have musicians stuck inside working on their music, trying to get better at their craft, but they don't get the recognition that they deserve, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to start this podcast, is to bring our Wisconsin musicians to the limelight. And I just happened to come across your website.
Yeah, especially right now with, given COVID, we need more ways to get the word out about what we're doing here that aren't necessarily live music, because that's what we can do right now.
Right. You're doing a great job getting musicians their fair pay, because I think that's one of your major things, is to get them to get fair pay.
Yeah. It has been a little bit tougher during the pandemic, but I still try and fight for that as much as possible.
Right.
And no one's going home with nothing, that's for sure. With tips only, that's not happening. So, yeah.
When my dad, he was a touring musician in the 60s and the 70s, and they were getting paid not much more than what musicians are getting paid now. And that was, 50 years ago. That's crazy to me.
Yeah. I know. And, and that is something that I also want to make sure that we start elevating too, is we are so a lot of musicians are find it easy to say, I'll do this one for free, or I'll do this one for cheap, or, because they find certain gigs to be great exposure or great, potential for them. But so that really helps to diminish the level of pay for the next musician down the line.
Right.
So I also want to just make sure that everyone, starts realizing what their real worth is, and that we're making sure to tell people that, hey, we really need to be charging for this. We've been spending more time on this craft than anyone else in their work or trade. So, we really have to make sure that we're getting paid fairly for that.
Right. Our Milwaukee Symphony Orchestra musicians, they are phenomenal talents and they get a decent pay. But then you also have other musicians in different genres, and for some reason, some people think, just because it's not at supposedly in someone's thought process of if it's not a classical musician, they're not as good. But it's definitely not true. It's just that they play a different genre and they have a different, craft,
right? And
they deserve that kind of pay as well.
Absolutely. So yeah, that's why the patron program is a big part of what I do. I knew I was going to do that right off the bat because I knew I wanted to make sure that this was going to be well supported. So
exactly. And then what are you planning for like the next 6 months? What are you really focusing on? Well,
we might have to do a little bit of a pivot with our live shows, especially given the governor's new order for 25% capacity. But we're still planning to do them at certain places. Story Hill Firehouse in Milwaukee is an awesome partner of ours, and we're going to plan to do shows there the second Monday of every month.
Okay.
We may start incorporating a little bit more live stream into our shows, so have that as an option in addition to being there in person. But we would want to make sure that people still prioritize the in-person.
Yeah.
That's really where the experience is. So we're playing around with that a little bit.
In other countries, even though COVID is still going on, obviously, around the world, they're taking certain sections and fencing them off, doing small platforms for 4 people buy tickets together. They buy 4 tickets and that section's all roped off. And then there's going to be another section social distanced away. And it's going to be like in a big park and there's going to, a stage. Or they do it where they're in their cars and they can just roll down the windows and they have to be spaced out, of course, but they can listen to the concert from the stage. They run it through an FM signal or something to that effect. Have you thought about something like that for live streaming?
That's interesting. We haven't necessarily thought of that. Some of that can get expensive. Yeah. So I know of some places that are doing some things similar to that, but it's worth a try, and I'm willing to try pretty much anything right now. Right. Because we definitely want to keep the performances going. So, but yeah, we're going to try live streaming from Story Hill Firehouse at some upcoming events, especially now as it's getting colder and we can't keep the windows open, as reliably. Right. But, we're going to continue. We've been doing some online events. Those are never quite as fun as the in-person, but we do our online events through Zoom. So it's, not necessarily the preferred audio option of musicians. Mm-hmm. I get that. But it can be very interactive that way. So the audience can talk with the musicians after. They can ask questions of the musicians through the chat. And so I kind of moderate that. And if someone has a chat question, then I'll ask the musician in between his or her pieces. Right. And so we'll continue that for sure. Every first and third Sunday is a Sunday brunch time concert. Cool. And so, we'll continue doing that with different musicians from all over the state. And we actually have our own podcast starting up shortly, too.
Excellent.
But we're actually going to be focusing more specifically on the business end of things for the musician.
Wonderful.
Because of what we kind of are able to see coming through, from our vantage point, what we can do to help the musicians, make their own portfolio stronger. So it's really going to be a little bit more specific, like I said before, and we see so much and can compare, and we really just think we can help them to build up their professionalism a little bit and want to be able to have some case studies out there, but also just offer our own advice through the podcast.
Yeah. Every bit helps, because I know when I was in a band and we were doing tours, in the early 2000s, if the stuff that we have today was around then, I think it would have helped a lot. Back in early 2000, late 90s, to get people to the show, I would have to go to Kinko's, print out a postcard, send those out, email.
Oh, man.
Social media was not anywhere near what it is today at that time, where you could just, put up on social media, come see our gig, blah, blah, blah. And here's a link to our music. No, it's so much has changed in the last 15, 20 years. It's just crazy.
Absolutely. And it's constantly changing too.
Right.
And so to stay on top of it is insane.
Right.
So you really have to stay current and be in the know, because I mean, what happened 5 years ago is out of date. So yeah, we're going to try and offer advice, and again, bring in people, sometimes some guest speakers, but yeah, so that's kind of in the works as well, because that's just another way we can help amplify some of the musicians that we've worked with, that, you know, in a way that is not necessarily going to be harmful for anyone during this COVID time period. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Have you thought about contacting like recording studios where they could have the band set up in their live room and then broadcast it out via, social media?
That's a good question. There are one or two that we have relationships with, and actually one of them is going to be doing the in-house live streaming for us. And, depending on how that goes, we may try some things out of their studio then too. So that's a good idea though, because that would be simple. The studio would have to be big enough and, safe enough for everyone involved. But,
right, exactly.
But yeah, assuming that's the case, yeah, I don't see why not. There are definitely some musicians who are feeling very uncomfortable playing out right now in certain circumstances. So we also have to be mindful of that wherever we're going.
Well, yeah, especially with our numbers of COVID positive tests.
Oh my goodness.
Just keep rising and rising and rising. It's just nuts.
It is. So,
scary.
They are very justified in being concerned right now. But then again, I mean, those who do only music for work, they have to work somehow.
Right, exactly.
And we want to make sure that we're helping to support that. So in whatever way we can. So we're all trying to think outside the box here.
Right.
And do whatever we can.
Yeah. I mean, I teach high school band, and the way we have it set up at our school is that we have an A day and a B day. So we have half the students on A day, half the students on B day. And then in the band room, we have these plastic covers that are shields that go around each student. And
right.
And they're spaced out about 4 to 6 feet away from each other. And then we have like bell covers for the instruments, and musician masks or a flute shield in front of the flute players, so we can contain the air droplets, just so it's safe enough for the kids to play during school hours.
Yeah. I mean, the things that we're doing right now, just so we can have a rehearsal, is if you would have told us this a year ago, I mean, what would we have thought,
Right. It's like when years past, you would see citizens in Asian countries going around with masks on. We're going, what the heck? Is it really that bad over there? And now we're understanding, yeah, it is that bad.
That situation we have made for ourselves. But I mean, there's got to be an end in sight, and we're learning a lot as, from doing this, and we're all getting more versatile and creative in the process. So there are some goods that can come out of this.
Yes,
sure.
I think a lot of things are starting to come, a lot of good things are coming out of this. The positives I see is that we get to slow things down a little bit and take a breath and take a look at what's going on and go, okay, let's pivot a little bit. Let's see what we can do. Let's make it better. Then just keep driving forward, keep going, and then not looking back and reflecting on what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So what are some things that you'd like to cover in this that I haven't brought up yet?
We're always looking for more musicians to get involved and to know about us, and more interesting venues. So, even though right now isn't the best time to host a live concert per se, if you're willing to, let us know. And the crazier the place, the better. We've had live concerts from anywhere from inside, adventure rock climbing gym to a test kitchen at a restaurant supply store to historical sites. Mansions, all over the place, and to your typical venues as well. So, the more off the wall, the more fun sometimes. But right now we're all just trying to make it. So, we're open to anything, and so we're always just looking for great partners anywhere. We have so many musicians that we're aware of in so many different areas right now. We have a great following of musicians, even in the north central Wisconsin area, Wausau, Fox Valley. And so we can really help match people up with music if they're looking for it, if they're looking for recommendations. So venues, musicians, businesses looking for music. So those are the things that interest us right now. But otherwise, I mean, just come to our shows and tune in. I mean, that's really the best thing you can do right now, too.
Right. Support local Wisconsin musicians and music for sure.
Yeah, and we have an email newsletter that goes out every week about what current events we have coming up. And
so they go to your website and they can sign up for the newsletter through there?
Yeah, through the website, there is information. There's actually like a little pop-up thing that comes up and asks you if you want to do it. And also at the bottom, you can scroll and see that too. There's a sign up at the bottom of the website too.
Excellent. How do you balance work life with personal life?
As a business owner, I don't know. That's never really possible, is it? I don't know.
There's always going to be complications. There are always going to be things that you have to sacrifice.
There are, yeah. But it's very difficult, but I love doing this, and it's something that I, created myself, using my own background skills, doing lots of community work. I used to do a lot with the local farmers market, being involved in their board of directors and things like that. And so community is really big to me. So building that community now in live music, it's such a strong passion of mine that even the longest days of lots of meetings, and like today was another one, lots of, some business meetings, some musician meetings, but it never feels like work. It's always just fun, and so it doesn't, if it's the right thing for you, it doesn't feel like work, even when you're doing it all day, every day.
I hear you. I feel like that when I'm teaching band or if I'm mixing a song or doing podcasts, it has something to do with music. People would ask me, oh, what church do you go to? And I'm going, well, music is my religion, so I'm not sure which church I should go to, but...
Yes. Yeah. Well said. Yeah.
So as we wrap this up, usually when I have bands on, I ask them, what local musicians bands are they listening to on their playlists? And I don't know if that's a question I should ask you because you might be singling out certain players.
Oh, I know. How do I don't want to show bias.
Right.
There's so many good ones. And I just love them all.
Yeah. There are a few shout outs, even like recent ones. Let's just do like a few recent ones.
Some recent ones. Let's see. Some recent ones that we've worked with, and I'm probably going to miss some, so I apologize if that's the case. But, I love working with Culla. His name is Cullah, Culla.com. He's an original artist, and he played for us at the Corners. And that was really fun. They are a big shopping center, and we were able to ask them to incorporate into some of the cover music. We got some original artists over there, which is pretty cool for a shopping center to want to do. And he's really super savvy with music business and licensing. And he allows anyone to use his music for free. And his music is phenomenal. And he's been a great find for us. And he's the one who played at the rock climbing gym for us some time ago. And so he's really open to anything. And let's see. Bruce Humphrey and the Rockabilly Rebels, Rockabilly music. He's been great to work with. Coming up, we have a quartet of musicians with the Milwaukee Symphony, the 414 Quartet. They have been really great. I feel like we've had to cancel and uncancel lots of shows with them because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
But I love them. They're phenomenal. Peter Thomas kind of leads that group. We have Kristen Kiekhaefer. She's a ukulele player and singer, plays a little keyboard as well. She's so fun to work with. Roxy Bean, more R&B and kind of pop covers on guitar. Man, there's just so many.
Yeah, right.
Caleb from the Wausau area, he's been really good. He actually drove all the way down here to do a gig. We had him on an online concert first, and he said he was willing to come all the way down to Milwaukee to do a gig because, right now musicians are glad to take gigs anywhere.
Right.
So he did that one down here for us. And there's been so many good ones. I would just say, look at our website, look at our social media, our past social media, and you can see all the people that we've worked with in the past. And, I can't miss Carmen and Costia, Carmen Nickerson. She does a lot with Willie Porter in the area, but she also does her own songwriting and arranging. And Kostya Efimov, I think that's how you say his last name. He's a Russian-born pianist and composer. They work together a lot and have done a couple things for us recently, and great performances and just a lot of great original music. So really high level stuff.
Wonderful.
I could keep going.
Right, exactly. I can definitely tell that you're very passionate about what you're doing and the musicians that you work with. You are definitely a great asset to our Wisconsin musicians for sure.
Thank you. So are you. I'm pumped for what you're doing. I love
thank
this
you.
too.
Allison Emm from Wisconsin Music Ventures. Their website is wisconsinmusicventures.com. You can read all about her and her organization on her website. Sign up for her newsletter. Musicians out there, contact her. Get to know her. She is going to be a great asset for everybody here in Wisconsin. So thank you so much, Allison, for being on the podcast. Is there any last words you'd like to say before we go?
Yeah, I'm so grateful to have an awesome team behind me now. So we have 3 part-time staff members in Wisconsin Music Ventures who are working behind the scenes besides myself. So the first one that I'll mention is Giselle Oliva. She is, right now she's called the Experience Assistant with Wisconsin Music Ventures, but she runs so many things. I need to change her title one of these days soon. She oversees like basically all artist relation kind of things right now. A lot of the concert booking and performance rights related things and social media. So she does all of that, plus a whole lot of other things. And it's super great to have her around. Ben, he runs a patron program for us. He's the newest member of the team. He is a musician who played on this series with us, but also, he's been great in his role as just working with sort of more community relations for Wisconsin Music Ventures, and that'll probably be a role that expands a little bit more as well. And Shannon Coulard, she is similar to Giselle, actually. They both started off as interns with me. They were studying at the University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh in their music industries program. And then after their internship, they both seemed like very amazing, capable young women, and they're now both part-time. And Shannon is going to be starting the podcast with me. She's going to be doing the editing and all of the sort of production-related parts of it. Alongside me, myself, who will be hosting. And once again, super grateful for them. Could not be doing any of this without them at this point. And thank you so much, Zach, for what you're doing with this and this podcast. Anything we all can do to work collaboratively to get, Wisconsin musicians promoted more than they have been, it's a really, really good thing. So thank you.
And thank you. Well, there we have it. There's Allison Emm with Wisconsin Music Venture. I'd like to thank Nate Wyckoff for our music for the podcast and Dean Bundy as our introductioner. Also, thanks to our sponsor, ZTF Studio. Anyone in need of professional mixing for a song, an EP, or their full album, contact Zach at ztfstudio.com. We didn't really have a band on today, so I'm just going to leave you with a song called It's Over by the Fellboys. Have a great week, everyone, and I'll see you next time.
It's over. It's over. They told her that's just the way we live. It's over. It's over. They think their life is a chore. They wait for the sun at night. It's over. It's over. I said, baby, now it's alright. They can't hurt you anymore. It's over. It's over. it's over. I said, baby, now it's alright. They can't hurt you anymore. It's over. It's over. I see you facing straight out in the pouring rain. The pool of blood by your side, the rain washes away. It's over. It's over. It's so over. It's over. It's over. It's so over. It's over. It's over. It's so over. It's over. It's over. It's over.